This dirty, scratched-up little penny looks like absolute garbage, the kind of coin you'd find face down in a greasy gas station parking lot and completely ignore. But if you flip it over and look for one tiny, hidden detail, you aren't looking at pocket change anymore, you are looking at a literal fortune worth over $150,000. Millions of people are accidentally spending these every single day because they think they're just ugly, damaged junk, but the smartest collectors are quietly hunting them down and laughing all the way to the bank. First coin. The very first coin on our hit list is the 1994 Queen Elizabeth II 1 penny, and this is a coin that absolutely nobody is looking for because it looks so completely ordinary at a glance. In 1994, the Royal Mint in the United Kingdom pumped out well over 800 million of these copper-plated steel pennies, meaning they are incredibly common and cross the Atlantic in tourist pockets, jar collections, and mixed estate lots all the time. Because they are made of steel with just a thin coating of copper, they tend to look absolutely dreadful after a few years in circulation, turning a nasty, dark crusty brown, covered in deep scratches and ugly rust spots. If you found one of these sitting in a tray at a flea market or tucked away in an old family coin jar, you would probably think it wasn't even worth the face value of a single British penny, let alone real American dollars. But a major factory screw-up happened at the mint during this exact year, and if you know the one specific area on the coin to examine, you could be staring at a massive payday. To spot this hidden treasure, you have to ignore the ugly, scratched-up surface and flip the coin directly over to the side showing the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. This portrait features the Queen wearing a beautiful royal diadem, but the massive factory error you are hunting for is located right on her face. When you find a 1994 penny, you need to look very closely at the Queen's mouth, right where her lips meet. On an ordinary, common penny, her profile is crisp, clean, and perfectly defined. But on the ultra-rare variety, a catastrophic machinery malfunction caused extra metal to warp and deform her mouth, making it look like she has a dramatic, swollen lower lip or an extra chunk of heavy metal material protruding right out of her face. It almost looks like the coin took a massive hit or suffered severe damage during its time in circulation, which is exactly why regular people look right at it and throw it back into the junk pile. They assume some kid hit it with a hammer or it got caught in a vending machine, but this deformity actually happened before the coin ever left the factory gates. Next coin. The next coin on our radar is the 1996 Queen Elizabeth II 1 penny, and this one is the ultimate master of disguise. By 1996, the Royal Mint was producing these pennies in massive quantities, utilizing a copper-plated steel composition that was notorious for aging horribly. If you hold a normal 1996 penny today, it is likely covered in dark, oily fingerprints, ugly black carbon spots, and nasty chemical stains from sitting in damp coin trays or car cup holders. It looks completely worthless, like something you would readily throw into a wishing well without a second thought. Because these coins look so cheap and battered, millions of them pass through human hands completely unexamined. Yet, hidden within this massive mountain of ordinary base metal lies an incredibly rare and valuable mint mistake that has the entire coin collecting community on absolute high alert. To find this incredible prize, you need to turn the coin over to the reverse side, which features the iconic crown portcullis with chains dangling down on either side. At first glance, a dirty or scratched 1996 penny will just look like a messy blob of brown metal, but you need to focus your eyes like a laser directly on the date printed at the very bottom of the coin. On a standard, regular penny, the numbers 1, 9, 9, and 6 are perfectly aligned, sharp, and separate from the rest of the design. However, due to a severe mechanical glitch at the mint known as a dramatic die clash or hub doubling error, a tiny batch of these coins was struck with a massive mistake. If you look closely at the number 6 at the very end of the date, you will see a distinct, ghostly secondary outline right underneath or beside the main number. It looks as if the machine stamped the digit twice, creating a clear, overlapping double image that is impossible to miss once you know it is there. Next coin. The third coin on our treasure hunt is the 1999 Queen Elizabeth II 1 penny, and this one is a true sleeping giant hiding right beneath everyone's noses. By the end of the 90s, the Royal Mint was striking these pennies by the hundreds of millions, and because they were heavily circulated as everyday pocket change, finding one today that doesn't look completely beat up is nearly impossible. Most 1999 pennies you come across are dark, dull, heavily oxidized, and covered in deep scratches from grinding against keys and other coins for decades. They look so incredibly ugly and common that nobody ever stops to look at them twice. They are the exact definition of pocket clutter that ends up forgotten at the bottom of a backpack or tossed into a plastic bucket in the closet. But if you know how to look past the dirt and grime, you might find a massive minting blunder that turns this worthless piece of copper-plated steel into an absolute financial powerhouse. To spot this hidden goldmine, you need to turn the penny over to the side showing the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. This side contains a lot of text around the outer edge, which represents the royal titles, but you need to ignore all of that and focus your attention exclusively on the very edge of the coin itself. On a standard, correctly minted penny, the outer edge features a raised, perfect circular border called the rim, which acts as a protective frame for the design. However, a major mechanical failure occurred during a brief production run in 1999, causing the heavy metal dies to become misaligned. When the machine came down to strike the coin, it hit the blank piece of metal completely off-center. Instead of a perfectly centered, symmetrical coin, the entire design was shoved violently to one side, leaving a massive, blank, crescent-shaped gap along the opposite edge where the metal was never stamped at all. Next coin. The fourth coin on our list takes us straight into the new millennium with the 2002 Queen Elizabeth II 1 penny, and this specific coin is a masterclass in why you should never judge a coin by its cover. By 2002, the sheer volume of these pennies circulating through transit systems, cash registers, and wallets meant they were subjected to brutal wear and tear. A typical 2002 penny found today is almost guaranteed to look completely wretched, frequently covered in sticky residue, deep gouges, and that awful, dark brown oxidation that makes the copper plating look completely dead. It is precisely the kind of coin you would avoid touching with your bare hands, let alone consider valuable. Yet, a massive mistake occurred at the mint during this year, creating an undercover treasure that is currently sitting in random coin jars entirely unnoticed. To identify this incredible prize, you need to ignore the overall grime and turn the coin over to the reverse side to examine the iconic crown portcullis design. On a regular, normal 2002 penny, the security chains dangling down from the portcullis are sharply detailed, and the entire design sits perfectly inside the raised outer rim. But on a rare and highly sought-after batch of error coins from this exact year, a severe glitch known as a major die cap or a spectacular broadstrike error occurred. This happens when the collar mechanism that holds the coin blank perfectly in place during the minting process fails completely. When the massive coin press slammed down with tons of force, the metal had nothing to contain it, causing the copper-plated steel to violently spill outward like a pancake on a griddle. The result is a coin that is noticeably thinner, much wider than a standard penny, and features a wildly distorted, stretched-out design. Next coin. The fifth coin on our list is the 2003 Queen Elizabeth II 1 penny, and this coin is the absolute definition of a wolf in sheep's clothing. By 2003, billions of copper-plated steel pennies were circulating worldwide, and because they are highly magnetic and react poorly to moisture, they age incredibly badly. If you pull a 2003 penny out of an old coin jar today, it is highly likely to look completely disgusting, covered in dark grease stains, deep scratches, and that nasty, dull corrosion that makes the metal look like it was pulled out of a muddy riverbed. It is the exact kind of ugly, common change that you would leave in a tip jar or ignore on the ground. But an incredible mechanical mix-up happened at the Royal Mint during this exact production run, creating a bizarre error coin that looks like total garbage but is worth a massive amount of cold, hard cash. To spot this undercover fortune, you need to closely examine both sides of the coin at the exact same time, using a trick called the orientation test. On a normal, standard British penny, the coin uses what is called metal alignment. This means that if you hold the penny vertically and look directly at the portrait of Queen Elizabeth, and then flip the coin sideways like a page in a book, the reverse side showing the crown portcullis should also be perfectly right side up. However, due to a severe mechanical failure where one of the heavy steel coin dies accidentally rotated and broke free from its locked position inside the high-speed press, a tiny batch of 2003 pennies was struck completely upside down. When you flip one of these rare error pennies over, the design on the back is rotated at a wild 90-degree or even a full 180-degree angle, making the entire image look completely inverted or upside down compared to the front. Next coin. The sixth and final coin on our list is the 2008 Queen Elizabeth II 1 penny, and this one is the ultimate grand finale because it marks a historic turning point in coin collecting history. In 2008, the Royal Mint did something completely drastic. They completely changed the design on the back of all British coinage, moving away from the classic crown portcullis and introducing the brand new Royal Shield design. Because of this massive transition, the Mint was running multiple production lines simultaneously, creating absolute chaos on the factory floor. The typical 2008 penny you find in a jar today looks like absolute trash, heavily circulated, covered in dark, sticky soda residue, deep pocket scratches, and that dull, ugly tarnish that makes copper look completely dead. Nobody looks at a dirty 2008 penny twice because they assume it is just modern, worthless pocket change, but a legendary factory mix-up occurred during this chaotic design transition that created one of the most valuable treasures of the modern era. To find this incredible holy grail, you need to look past the dirt and scratches and flip the coin over to examine the reverse side. Because 2008 was the transition year, you will find some pennies with the old portcullis design and some with the new Royal Shield design. But the ultimate error you are hunting for is a spectacular mistake known as a mule error, which happens when the Mint accidentally pairs the wrong front die with the wrong back die. In a frantic rush to pump out coins during the design swap, a worker accidentally loaded a 2008 reverse die alongside an older obverse portrait die from a completely different coin denomination, or vice versa. The result is a bizarre, hybrid freak coin that features completely mismatched design elements, or in the most extreme cases, a coin that is missing the date entirely because both dies being used omitted the year. Thanks for watching.